So I was on this totally legal anime streaming site, just browsing, just for the fun of it. I was in the in section looking at the available Naruto movies and noticed that Naruto the Last was missing. I figured it was one of those situations where you're an idiot for thinking that the system wouldn't actually count "the" as a part of the series title. So I went to the T section and saw The Last there. After I complained to myself about how it was really just an excuse to get Naruto and Hinata together, I saw a series next to it with a rather eye-catching cover called The Law of Ueki. I click on it and see that it is a mid-2000s shonen series with a decent amount of episodes. Now see me, I'm a pretty big shonen junkie. It is my favorite genre of anime. It is my best friend and lover. I hang out with it. I take it out to dinner. I make love to it. I eat it. I smoke it. I inject this genre into my veins every morning and night. I currently look like this now. Too bad about the eyebrows though. After realizing that this was just a show for me, I saw the show and well, this is what I got. The Law of Ueki is a battle shonen series made by Tsubasa Fukuchi. It aired its anime from 2005 to 2006. The series was animated by Studio Dean, you know, the same people that animated these guys here. The series is about this battle royale competition being held by these beings known as Celestials. The King of Celestials wants to host a competition to decide who will become the next king. To decide that, each Celestial must enter a middle school kid to represent them in a competition and a power for them to fight with. Ah, sweet! This show has tournaments, superpowers, and kids beating each other up? Man, I just love how relatable the show is to my childhood. So, if the Celestial's chosen candidate wins, then that Celestial becomes a new king, and the chosen candidate gets to use this stone tablet called the Talent of Blank, which will allow them to grant themselves a talent, which is pretty much a wish. So while watching the show, it introduces me to its power system, you know, the thing that decides why a battle went in such a direction. So as mentioned, each Celestial representative is given a power by their candidate. These can be anything really. I would tell you what they're like, but I feel like it'd be better if you see for your
power to change towels into iron!
Power to change tomatoes into magma!
With my power to change my head into diamonds!
Oh. This is the show, people. And I know in other shows they shout out their attack names, but here they make it sound so goofy and like uncool. Like for say, in One Piece, some of the attack names can sound goofy, sure, but at least they roll off the tongue better and sound way less blatant. Also, did you notice something about those powers I just showcased? They all involve just turning one thing into another thing. Like that's it. That's actually it. Heck, I can do that. The power to turn dirty clothes into clean clothes! Yeah! The power to turn water into urine!
The power to have Christ compel you! The power to turn dreams into nightmares. Sweet dreams, little Timmy.
But really though, there's no diversity when it comes to different types of powers, because when I think of powers, you can definitely do more than just turning object A into object B. And the show has proven that it can do more than just turning this into that. Like this guy. His power is
the power to transport my body to wherever my knife is!
I'm not sure why they're gonna come up with a better name for that, but hey, it's different. And then there's also this other character that has the power to turn someone into a lover of eyeglasses, which works kinda like a curse or a hex of some sort. Now allow me to use a perfect and totally flawless show for an example. Like One Piece. In that show, some characters fight with the powers of the devil fruit. You eat a fruit and you get a power. The powers can be anything really, like having a body made out of rubber, or being able to disassemble yourself into multiple pieces. There's also different types of devil fruits. The ones I listed earlier are paramecia type, and there's also Logia types that let you turn into and gain control of elements like fire, sand, and gas. And then you also got furries. Zone types that let you turn into animals like a leopard, or a giraffe, or a human. Well, about as human as you can get. My point to this is that these powers aren't basic and lackluster. There's variety in not only the powers given, but the types of powers as well, which is what Ueki lacks. My next problem with the powers is their usage. As said earlier, all the powers involve turning object A into object B and using it against their opponent. However, there's really no reason for the powers to work this way. In most fights, all they do is just spam their power until they get results. They only ever focus on the Object B part of the power, never Object A. Object A is never a factor in the fights, so really the characters might as well just have the power to use Object B instead of doing the whole turn A into B thing, you know? And the Object A part of the powers becomes even more irrelevant because the users of said power never seem to run out of ammo. Like, they just seem to have an infinite amount. This was a poor decision on the show's part because the fights could have had an extra layer of depth if they had the characters use their supply more conservatively, or perhaps make situations where a character can't use their power because the enemy took their supply or something. Now, another problem I have with the power system is that they abandoned a very clever concept very early in the show. It's called practical use. It's when the user uses their power in a practical way. For example, the first time we see this is from this guy named Myro Tyra. He has the power to turn water into fire. He starts by chugging down a water bottle and then spits it out as a flamethrower. One of his practical uses is that if he gargles the water, the fire will come out even stronger. And another one is that if he has his mouth in an O shape, then you can shoot out fireballs. Now here's an example of someone that doesn't have practical use, like well thought out character number 24. He has the power to turn coins into wind. Yeah, that's it. No, really, that's actually it. He throws a coin and then it turns into wind. Like seriously, most of these powers really are a case of what you see is what you get. Now let's see how good the guy could actually be if he had some practical uses. Perhaps the strength of the wind could be increased depending on the price of the coin. Or instead of throwing the coins, he could have a little coin launcher to shoot them with. Or maybe he could create tornadoes if he does a little coin spinning trick. So yeah, practical uses essentially make your powers have more flair to it rather than just spamming the same thing again and again. I don't understand why they stopped using this concept so early in the show. Oh yeah, there's more to these powers. Each power has a special add-on ability to the original power called the level 2 ability. Wait a second, what? Level 2 ability? Seriously? That's what you're calling it? Come on, show, it's like you used the first thing that came to mind. Whatever. You obtain your level 2 ability by having mastery of your original power. They do foreshadow it early on though, so I'll give them props there. Except I'll be taking those props right back because they named it level 2. And finally, each character has these performance enhancers called talents, which is a lame way of saying skills. Talents can either be useful or stupid depending on the situation, and you could have more than one of course. You could have the talent to corner, the talent to hit a target, the talent to sing, the talent to swim, and probably the dumbest sounding one here.
Huh? Talent to dodge!
Anyway, if you wish to gain a talent, you either have to defeat opponents or simply work at them. You see, my problem with talents is that they're a factor in the fight scene in the show when the show wants it to be. Like, in the show, everybody has hundreds of talents, but it's only mentioned what those talents are whenever the show wants it to be relevant, because when the talents aren't being brought up in a fight, it's like the concept of talents didn't even matter. Whenever Ueki defeats an opponent, I can't help but think, so this guy has over 100 talents and not one of them could have helped him win? That's a weird flex, but okay, show. An annoying and stupid idea the series has is that they'll treat talents like as if they're power levels from Dragon Ball Z. A standard scenario in the show would be all like, oh no, this guy has over 100 talents, and Ueki only has 8. Ueki doesn't stand a chance. Oh, he won. They pulled this type of scenario more than 3 times from what I remember, and the console kinda shoots itself in the foot when apparently someone with lesser talents can win, and you can't keep acting like the amount of talents matter afterwards when you made it clear the first time that it doesn't. Next, the talents that are mentioned are inconsistent, like the guy I mentioned earlier with the talent to dodge. If he has that talent, wouldn't that mean he would never get hit? But yet he loses because he got hit. Why did he get hit? Is it because he didn't shout the talent to dodge every time he was dodging? It's probably that, isn't it? And why is that even a talent? Plenty of characters up until this point have been dodging attacks, unless he just does it better than everyone else, but proven by his eventual loss, he doesn't. Why even highlight this as a genuine talent? Or another example, Ueki has a talent to hit a target, so he should never miss, right? But he does. I think the worst thing about talents is that they're abandoned and never mentioned again after I think episode 11. I think the author realized how sloppy this concept was and wanted to toss it under the rug, but spoiler alert, they become relevant again in the last few episodes. So yeah, that's the power system. I guess my overall main problem with it is that the system lacks depth and consistency. It's so simple that it kinda comes off as plain, undersold, and very, very weak. Next we move on to our main character in the series, Kosuke Ueki. He's kinda your standard cookie cutter dumb good guy. He does what he feels is right, he has a sense of justice, he could be stubborn and wants to get things done in his own way, he dislikes non-righteous people, and he likes to smack people around with his own wood. More on that in a second. Now see, I have a multitude of reasons why I don't like Ueki. First reason, his power. Ueki has the power to turn trash into trees. Alright, cool, he got the Hashirama cells. Okay, that sounds neat and all, but my question to you is, what is trash? Can't anything be trash at some point? When Ueki uses his power, does it work depending on what overall trash is, or what his definition of trash is? Like, what if what he sees as trash is another man's treasure? Like, the idea of trash is a bit too subjective of an idea to be revolved around someone's power. Heck, I would also say his power is a bit contradictory. Google defines trash as discarded matter or something without use. But if the trash in question is being used, it's still trash at that point? Because now the trash has a use, and if something is being used that makes it not trash, which means it can't be used against its power. I don't know. Am I thinking about this too much? Probably. But that doesn't change the fact that trash is too flimsy of an idea to be based around someone's power. You know what's lame? Not long after the first few episodes, they didn't even show Ueki pulling out the trash and turning it into trees anymore. Like, they skipped that step and he's just shown using it. And they do that with a lot of the powers. This really doubles down on the point that I said earlier with the whole turn object A into object B process thing, because it really is pointless in that you might as well just have the power of object B if that's all you're going to show and utilize. But yeah, despite the BS rules surrounding Ueki's power, it's a pretty cool power with a ton of flexibility, and Ueki even uses it in unique ways. He can form the shape of a tree into a bat and use it as a melee weapon. He can grow the tree from the ground and have it sprout at a distant location, kinda like a Sendo Hamon overdrive. Heck, if we give the show some time, my boy Ueki could have been pulling some First Hokage Hashirama Senju type of crap. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool, right? And that is why he should stop using his powers. Wait, what? Yeah, you heard that right. Because about a quarter way into the series, he's revealed to be a celestial. As I might have mentioned before, celestials are the people running the whole competition, so they can decide who will be the next king. A privilege that celestials have is that they can summon and use these things called celestial weapons, and effectively serve as Ueki's new powers. You got the Korogane, lets him shoot out a giant ball made out of tree. Next you got the giant hand shield he calls a hood. And he's also got the Raika, which are wooden rollerblades that allow him to move fast but can't jump. And as well as many other weapons. Now Ueki has access to both his tree powers and his celestial weapons, except he just uses the weapons because they actually get crap done. You see, it's like in a Dynasty Warriors game, to where once you find that one good combo that can clear a room, that's all you're going to be using. And that sucks because I would have liked to have seen more creative uses for his power rather than him just spamming his strongest weapons until crap gets done. But as the show has proven, why be creative when you can just spam your strongest weapons? Now here's a thought, let's make our main character be of a special race with privileges that only his race can have, like high endurance, recovery speed, and more powers than the powers already given to him. And now let's also put him in a tournament where no one else has the same privileges. Fair and balanced. I mean really, you think every character in the show would have that potential glow up and expansion to their powers, since turning object A into object B is quite simple in one note. And Ueki's weapons are powerful too. The second he lands one on you, it's an insta win. Why the heck is the main character capable of one-shotting anyone in the show with a giant metal pole, and you put him in the same room with someone that can turn cotton into steaks? You know, when I first saw that Ueki had more powers than just the trash and the trees thing, I thought Ueki being a celestial was just flat out unfair to the show. Like, they're essentially this anime's version of the Saiyans or Uzumaki and Uchiha clan. And yeah, in those respective series, there are tournaments, but those shows aren't based around the competition though. Ueki being in a tournament is equivalent to a college student entering an elementary school science fair. Of course he's gonna win. Kids out here making paper mache volcanoes while he's making a real thing from scratch. Come on, who let this guy in? Another thing I hate about Ueki are his inconsistent lost talents. At the start of the series, one of his lost talents is the talent to be liked by girls. Silly, I know, but roll with me here. If he lost a talent to be liked by girls, then why the heck does this blue-haired thought keep following him around? More on her later though. Another inconsistent lost talent is a talent to study. Now tell me, what does it mean to study? To study means to focus. It means to analyze, to examine, to devote time and attention to something. You're telling me Ueki lost that? Then how the heck is he winning all these battles in the whole show? I mean really, is Ueki essentially retarded? There's no way for him to be successful in all of his fights since he essentially can't think. And another inconsistent lost talent is his talent to run. And if he can't run, then what do you call this?
What's the deal with the wind tunnels? They're chasing after me.
And in case I'm taking his loss of running a little too literally, then he should at least be significantly slower than everyone else. Now here's the thing about lost talents. The show says that they can be recovered if you work really hard at said talents. Okay, that's great. So if all these battles, he should eventually get those talents again, right? But here's the other thing. The show doesn't do a good job by showing how hard one has to work to get those talents back. In series example, so there's this guy that wants a talent to run but has a hard time achieving it because, well, he initially isn't that good at it. He was a great runner when he was younger, but then the competition got too steep, so now he's not as good at it anymore. Yada yada, Ueki defeats him, and even afterwards, he continues his training so that he can be a great runner. So see, he's been working real hard since he was a kid to get good at running, and even still tries hard to fish out the talent for it. But with Ueki, who lost his talents to be liked by girls, to run, and to freaking use his brain, still seems to have regained these talents even though he only worked on them once compared to the years the runner guy has spent. Now let me be nitpicky real quick. Ueki, your main battle attire, it's so lame and plain. I mean, look at this guy. This boy ain't ready to fight. He's ready to fail English 1. And yeah, I get that he's a student, but the series takes itself outside of school rather quickly, so why didn't he get the casual attire update? I just want my boy to look cooler and less standard, especially since he doesn't really have a reason to be in the school uniform. And if he is going to be in the school attire for the rest of the series, then at least have him look something like this. See, he got the green undershirt to complement the green hair, and he has the unbuttoned button-up flow like a semi-cape. Come on, show, y'all really gonna do that? For me? After all I've been through with you? Please? Okay, now let me talk about this chick right here. Her name is Ai Mori. She's your typical tsundere helper female most shonen protagonists have following them. You know, one part narrator for the battles, and the other part, baka! Despite not having a power of her own, she tries to help out Ueki in his battles early on. It even has her own 1v1 battle and almost wins. She sure sounds fine and all, but you see, she has absolutely no real reason to be so involved in the tournament and Ueki's life. No, really, I kept asking myself, why the heck is she there? Everything that happens in the show is literally none of her business. Oh, and here comes that one random guy that did watch the show and will be all, actually, if you watch the first episode, it'll tell you that she's a meddler. That's why she's so involved. Maybe we can drastically talk crap about my waifu. You pleb. Unsubscribed, unfollowed, disliked, bye. First of all, if you saw the nonsense that goes on in the show, you wouldn't want to associate yourself with it either. I think a meddler would know when to back out when their life is in danger, especially since she doesn't gain anything from being involved. I'd be more accepting if she were a school journalist or something, and she can be all, oh boy, what a scoop. The school will go crazy when they see this. Or, oh no, I can let my best source of news get defeated. Cause at least then she'd have a better cause instead of just being there just to be there. Heck, even Misty from Pokemon has a better reason for following her main character around, and that just derives from the fact that girls are petty. And really, her being involved because she's a meddler is just an overall weak and lame reason to make her character relevant. Like, couldn't they have made her Ueki's sibling that's trying to look after her brother? Or maybe actually make the two friends? Yeah, that's right. They're not already friends when the series starts. I know they're not friends because they sure don't act like it. Take these two scenes here.
Oh. Ueki, you're so much slower now that you couldn't keep up with my grandma. Hi.
You see how Ai tries to be his friend by messing with him, and all he responds with is just, hey. He didn't even react to her mockery. Given the interaction here, it kinda seems like he's just indifferent to her presence. And then there's another moment where Ueki's getting beat by his opponent, and to which Ai says,
Stop! You've gotta stop beating on him! Ueki doesn't really even want to be in these battles anyway! He's not the kind of guy who likes fighting, believe me!
Look here, you blue-haired Sakura. How the heck would you even know that? You witnessed all of his fights up to this point, and not once has he complained about getting tired of fighting. This is episode 4. You barely know jack squat about this guy. And you wanna know what's pouring salt in the wound?
Onimon! How about another match one of these days? Except next time without any of this power stuff.
Sure, we'll do that, Kisuke.
Well, would you look at that? Not only does your so-called friend like to fight, but he's willing to throw hands anytime without the powers. This man's a boxer. But yeah, all I point is out to show that these two aren't friends and further cements my fact that Ai really has no business being involved in anything there. As the series progresses, Ueki does start to care about her, but that's really only because she's forced herself into every situation to the point where she pretty much has a VIP pass to be on the show. Okay, so I was gonna talk about the writing, the poor logic, and decision-making skills in the story, but I really don't know how I can do that without this video being an extra 30 minutes long and suddenly turning into a CinemaSins style everything wrong with parody video. So I think I'm just gonna make that into its own video. Can't say when though. Despite all the things I had to say about this show, it was somewhat enjoyable. Bad, yet enjoyable. If you wanna know why I'd say it's bad, please refer to this timestamp here. But if you wanna know why I'd say it was enjoyable, I'd say it's because as I watched it, picking apart this crappy show was actually kinda fun. Like, you ever watch a bad scary movie with cheesy effects and dumb teenagers? It's kinda like that, but unintentionally. Heck, I think it'd be even more fun if you watch it in a group setting with friends. You can all pick it apart together. And the show gets to the point of what it's all about rather quickly, so you won't be bored. There's just something oddly gratifying about watching a semi-long shonen series that people haven't talked about to death. Cause I mean, let's be honest, who here has ever heard of the law Ueki? Before the video? There we go. So, that's my final rating on this show. Well, let's just say that if I had Ueki's power, I'd turn this show into a tree. An enjoyable tree, but a tree. Thanks for watching.